did Destyn Hill take a shot at Florida State before he left? He had an interview with Rivals Sam Spiegelman after revealing his announcement to Florida State and not to Florida State, to LSU. And he mentioned in his quote, it's a big support system, talking about LSU, a bigger opportunity to get better with more resources. And the main thing, it's all about getting better and getting one step closer to the NFL. I'm going to wide receiver university. One thing I agree with, though, is improving and developing and getting better. Depends on your wide receivers coach, and just wasn't that way under Ron Dugans. But maybe, talking about a bigger opportunity to get better with more resources, of course, is saying, LSU is a better product in doing so, and yada, yada, yada. And I also came sort of to a surprise, not a crazy major surprise that he was going to be entering in the transfer portal, but you thought, okay, didn't get to see him play last season at all due to injury. But, there could be most certainly an opportunity in what this Gus Malzahn offense wants to do, going vertical and taking those shots. And you also, too, just wanted to see him fully healthy and see what he could do. I don't know. And then Florida State, too, being very patient. And from what we've heard, helping out a lot with Destyn Hill and the family there and getting him to a college, getting him to FSU, which was not easy to do, and eventually signing him, which took 2 years to get him onto campus in a Florida State uniform. I don't know. I just don't like that quote, and just not a fan of it. Not a fan of it with how much effort that Florida State and Mike Norvell had to do. And this is where sometimes the loyalty hurts Mike Norvell, and I hope he's kind of learned that. He definitely had to have in the 2024 season, but just not too fond of it, to be honest, gentlemen.
Yeah, definitely think it can be perceived as a little bit of a shot at Florida State. But I mean, when you're complaining about a support system and, talking about going to a bigger opportunity to get better with more resources, I mean, you have to think about how many resources Florida State invested in Destyn Hill, and not only to sign him in 2021, but to wait 2.5 years later to finally get him on campus. And, obviously last year, member of the rotation at wide receiver, dealt with some injuries throughout the season. And then this offseason in spring practice, I mean, he looked like he had a chance to be one of Florida State's better wide receivers. Unfortunately, suffers that ACL tear and has to rehab throughout the entirety of 2024 and into the fall. And, this was a guy, he was making some serious progress in his rehab from that injury, especially during those last couple of practices that we were out there. It looked like he was actually able to get a little bit of running in, and he was starting to get that bounce back a little bit. So it's certainly disappointing, for Florida State to basically have put 4 years into Destyn Hill and then have him out the door before he plays his second year in Garnet and Gold. This is a guy that I think a lot of people figured would be an electric playmaker at Florida State and someone who had the potential to be one of the best receivers in the country. And, it's just unfortunate to see it end this way. I'll be honest, I didn't know that Destyn Hill was going to be able to land at a school like LSU, and you have to hope with him coming off that injury, maybe he'll be able to show some of that skill set in 2025 and also being back closer to home in Louisiana. But again, disappointing to see the way it ended at Florida State and with how much the Seminoles put into this to, get Destyn to campus and put him in a position to have success.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, really. We're just talking about we wish, the Coleman Hawks were honest with why he was leaving. I respect Destyn Hill for being like, hey, I wasn't getting developed at Florida State. And if you ask Keon Coleman, who's apparently been saying the same things about what Ron Dugans was doing in that room, it's not exactly surprised that, guys are wishing they were being developed better. And at the same time, they're getting a wide receivers coach in there now who has mainly been a running backs coach. So I don't blame him whatsoever. And LSU has been a wide receiver factory. I mean, you look at the guys they've produced that are in the NFL between Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I know Terrace Marshall isn't playing that well, but he was a second-round pick. I mean, they just get guys in the league. And for someone that's from Louisiana, it makes a ton of sense. I don't blame him at all whatsoever for it. But it sucks the way it ended. But at the same time, I don't I don't think they'll miss him that much in that room.